All right, today we're diving into a 19th century legal case that honestly reads more like a crime thriller. We've got a phantom merchant, a really clever deception, and a legal puzzle that, believe it or not, totally shapes how we think about security in our own digital world. So let's start with this question because it's at the heart of the entire case. Imagine this. You've been scammed, the thief is long gone, and there are two innocent people left holding the bag. How does the law decide who takes the hit? It's this messy conflict between what seems fair and what the law actually says. Let's see how it played out. So our story kicks off in the middle of Victorian London's bustling commerce. It's a tale about fancy linens, a case of mistaken identity, and a theft so slick that it took the highest court in the land to figure it all out. First, let's meet the players. First up, we have Lindsay and Company. You gotta picture them as this really hardworking, respectable business. They were famous Irish makers of high-quality linen handkerchiefs, and their entire reputation was built on trust and a good name. There are victims. And then there's this guy, Alfred Blinkern. He's the phantom merchant, our villain. He was operating out of just a single rented room at 37 Wood Street in London. Now, you're gonna want to remember that address, because Blinkern's entire scam hinged on a very clever, very subtle trick involving his location. And here it is, the brilliant part of the con. You see, just down the street from Blencarn's little room was a big, well-known, and super reputable company called Blink Iron and Company. See how close that is? Blencarn sent a huge order to Lindsay & Co., but he signed his name in a way that it looked like Blencarn. Lindsay, knowing Blencarn's great reputation, didn't think twice. They just shipped the goods. Okay, so the scam worked perfectly. The handkerchiefs are now in the hands of a con man, and this is where the real trouble begins, and the stage is set for a massive legal battle. So let's just trace exactly how this went down. Step 1, Blencarn sends his shady order. Step 2, Lindsay & Co., completely fooled, ship out this huge batch of handkerchiefs on credit. Step 3, the second the goods arrive, Blencarn doesn't waste a minute. He sells them all to an innocent third party, a guy named Mr. Cundy, for cash. And finally, Step 4, when Lindsay & Co. realize their invoices aren't being paid, they investigate, find out about the fraud, and track their goods to Cundy. Their only choice? They have to sue Cundy to get their stuff back. And boom, we're right back to that impossible question. I mean, think about it. Both Lindsay and Cundy are totally innocent here. Cundy paid good money thinking it was a legit sale. Lindsay made the products and got completely cheated. So who legally owns the handkerchiefs now? You know, the whole case really came down to this one specific legal concept, the law of mistake. The court had to figure out, did Lindsay & Co. just make a mistake about Blencarn's qualities, like, whether he could pay his bills? Or was it a much deeper mistake about his actual identity? This is the huge difference between being tricked by a lie and making a deal with someone who was never really there to begin with, a legal ghost. And this right here is the heart of the legal argument. See, a voidable contract is when you deal with a real person, but they lie about something, say how rich they are. A contract is formed, but it's flawed. It's like a ticking time bomb you can defuse. But a void contract? That's totally different. That's a mistake of identity. Lindsay & Co. only ever meant to deal with a famous Blinkern & Co. They had zero intention of dealing with this Blinkern guy. So there was no meeting of minds. The contract was a ghost. Legally, it never even happened. So, how did the court untangle this mess? Well, the case went all the way up to the House of Lords, the highest court back then. And their decision became a landmark ruling that's still taught in law schools today. This quote from the head judge is just so powerful, and it gets right to the point. He's saying that Lindsay & Co.'s offer was never ever made to the guy in that little room on Wood Street. It was made to the reputable company they thought they were dealing with. As far as the court was concerned, Blencarn was a complete phantom in this deal. And that leads to the bombshell verdict. The House of Lords said the contract was void. Not voidable, but void from the very beginning. A total nothing. And that meant the legal ownership, what lawyers call the title, to those handkerchiefs never ever passed from Lindsay & Co. to the fraudster Blencarn. And this brings us to an ancient legal rule that ultimately sealed Mr. Cundy's fate. Nemo dat quod non habet. It's a Latin phrase, and it just means you can't give what you don't have. Think of it like this. If a thief steals my laptop and sells it to you, you don't get legal ownership because the thief never had it to give away in the first place. The exact same idea applied here. Because Blencarn never legally owned the handkerchiefs, he couldn't legally sell them to Cundy. So Lindsay & Co. got their property back. So a 150-year-old case about handkerchiefs. Why should we care? Because the main problem here,
Proving someone's identity when you can't see them face to face is something we deal with literally every single day of our digital lives.
I mean, just think about it. Every time you get one of those phishing emails that looks exactly like it's from your bank, that's a modern-day blankern. It's a phantom merchant trying to trick you with a fake identity. This old case gets to the absolute core risk of the internet age. Are you really dealing with who you think you're dealing with? It's the whole reason stuff like two-factor authentication even exists, to prove we are who we say we are.
And that leaves us with one last, kinda scary thought. With technology like AI and deepfakes getting so good at creating convincing fakes, the central puzzle from this 150-year-old case is maybe the biggest challenge of our time. When a perfect fake looks identical to the real thing, how can we ever be sure who's really on the other side of the screen?